We don't know if we have to speak into the microphone. We may have to change.
I think it'll be fine.
Think it'll be okay?
Big rooms, with
Okay.
big cameras.
All right.
The small rooms have just been like somehow magically.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janet Edmond with Conservation International, and I direct our Peacebuilding and environmental peacebuilding and conflict sensitivity work. And it's great to see all of our friends. Come on in. This is fantastic. We have a very exciting panel today on African leadership and environmental peace building. And these amazing women are going to give a presentation in a few minutes. I'll introduce them. But first, just to give you an idea of what we're doing. So this session is co-sponsored by the Africa Interest Group. And if you are not a member, if you are a member of Environmental Peacebuilding Association, you should be in the Africa Interest Group. That is where all the action is. Unfortunately, there's another session with the Africa Interest Group at the same time. Otherwise, we'd have more people. So we have competing interests, but we're very happy that you all came here. And so we're just going to have a little Menti exercise just to get on the same page. We're going to have SPARK presentations. And then we're going to do some breakout groups. And all of it is designed to get us thinking for how we can do more to build out environmental leadership, African leadership, responding to the various needs that we have on the continent. And this is nothing against Asia and nothing against Latin America. But we have assembled a panel, and I'll introduce our panel, but just to say they are sponsored by the US State Department and the Mandela Program for Peace. And they can tell you a little bit more about their experiences, but I'm going to introduce them first, and then we'll do the Menti. Okay. So I'll start with Dorice. Won't pronounce your last name because I'm sure I won't get it right. So Dorice has got 12 years of experience with fundraising. She was telling us the other night about all the different things that she's done, starting in the disability world. But now she works for Mount Kenya conservation areas. She describes herself as a fundraiser, but she does everything. And when she met Sushil from World Conservation Society, she said, "Oh, thank you for the cameras, and thank you for all the equipment." So she has a wide range of experience, and definitely is going to share with us her insights with her fellowship. Mahawa, who's on the end, Komala is from Liberia. I did say you're from Kenya, didn't I? I missed that. Mahawa is from Liberia, and she's got 4 years of experience working in environmental research and leadership. She works for a group called Everyday Gandhis, which if you haven't heard about them, you should definitely Google them. Working in Northeast Liberia and working with young students to educate them on the importance of the environment. And she has a bachelor's in science, right? You were telling me? Yeah, from Canterbury, right? And she was our Mandela Fellow. They're given different experiences for professional development. So Mahawa joined us virtually in 2022. Okay, great. And then I am definitely not going to pronounce Gcebile's right. Can you say your name? Because I always
Gcebile.
yeah. And so she's joining us from Eswatini, and she's an environmental health specialist. She works with the National Disaster Risk Reduction Organization. It's kind of a parastatal. So she brings in a different kind of element with climate resilience and looking at different environmental management. And she was also a Mandela Fellow. So let's just do a Menti first before we turn it over to them. And you all know this drill, right? Go to www.menti.com on your phone. And it's on the back wall. Okay, maybe it's not on the back wall. Okay. Okay, I'll log in to this later. Do them first. Okay, okay, we have it. Yeah. Okay, all right, no worries, no problem. Okay. So can you see the code? Do you want the code? It's 2563 4320. Everyone finding it?
Say it again, Janet.
2, 5, 6, 8, 4, 3, 2. Okay, get over here. Get out of the way. This session is to keep you on your toes.
Yes, right.
Come on in. Come on in. There's a seat over here. Back there. Back there. And we're doing a Mentimeter, so. Is it up? Thank you so much. All right, here's the first question. We're doing Mentimeter. What is your level of concern over environmental conflicts in Africa? And you get 5 choices. Are y'all finding it? I'm very concerned is winning. Is everyone in there? Yeah. Okay. That's a good sign you're in the right room. Okay. And somebody who can't sleep. That definitely means you're in the right room, right? And we'll look forward to having discussion after. Okay, next one. What are you hoping to get out of this session? Other than the chocolate, what are you looking to get out of it? Insights, great. Learning from others. Yes, inspiration, absolutely. Synergies. Great. Inspiration is winning. Learning from others, opportunities. Excellent. Very good. Great, thank you all very much. Awesome. Most people respond? Most people in there? Okay, next one. How many members are in the MPAC's interest group?
Is that a quiz question?
It is a quiz question. Who knows? Who knows how many members are in there?
You want to know if they are a member? You need to estimate how many members.
How many? So the Africa interest group?
Yeah, so
In fact.
and to estimate how many members there are in the group, or
Yes.
if you are a member of the group.
Oh, if you're a member of the group, maybe you already know. Okay, you're not aware. Well, if you were in the room earlier, I encourage everyone to join the Africa interest group, and then you'll get inside information. Should be a lot, absolutely. Okay, so I don't see anyone with the exact number, but this one is closest, I think. I think it's 54. You switch those numbers, it's 54. In terms of the active participation, I think Octavio said to us the other day it was about 16. So we can definitely be doing a much bigger community of practice. There's a lot more learning. And so definitely talk to people like Galeo, who's already in there, and he'll chat you up about it. So, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And don't need that anymore. And then I think we're gonna go maybe just to say a word about the Africa interest group because Octavio's not here. So you know, MPAC's really one of the big draws of being part of MPAC's is the connections and the people that you meet, but also the shared learning. And the Africa Interest Group in particular has a focus on mentorship and really connecting people together. So I really think that interest group kind of overall goal fits really well with this session where we're really trying to come up with ways to really increase the voices that we're hearing from our African colleagues. So hopefully we'll have a good discussion afterwards. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to do Spark presentations and then we're going to go into some breakout groups, brainstorm some ways and ultimately come up with like 6 or 7 recommendations we can make to the Africa Interest Group and the association to kind of strengthen our activities. Does that sound okay? Everybody on board? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over. Celia, you asked to go first. You volunteered, right? Okay, and you have a presentation. So we're going to bring up her presentation. Is it this one? Yes, that beautiful one. I'm going to get out of the way. So you have 5 minutes and I'm going to cut you off. 5 minutes. Can you all see it? It's also on the back screen too.
Okay.
Is it in presentation? Yeah.
Oh.
No, maybe you want.
You can remove them. No.
Just go to display settings at the top.
Okay,
Oh,
no, okay, here you go.
short.
There we go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gcebile Matsebula from Eswatini. I'd like to start by expressing my gratitude. I'm very happy to be part of this enlightening conference. I'm an environmentalist working in the humanitarian space. So I don't have direct experience in the peace building work, but I have a growing interest. Like I said, I've just joined the National Disaster Management Agency in my country, which is the principal institution responsible for the coordination of disaster risk management issues in my country. So with that, I have an interest on the relationship between disasters, disaster risk management, and conflicts. So before I start, I'll just like to introduce you briefly from the country that I'm coming from. So like I said, I'm from Eswatini, which was previously known as Swaziland before 2018. So can you please, yeah, it's a very small country with about 1.2 million people population, and the area covers slightly about 17,000 square kilometers. So fun fact about us is that we have one tribe and one language. We've been ruled by a king since our independence in 1986. We've never had a war. Now, with those little facts I've just shared, I'd like to ask you, do you think we have conflict issues in Eswatini?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so yes, we do have conflict issues. You know, the other day on the opening session, the president of the NPAX Association shared something that I found interesting. He said some countries and some states are not really at war, but at the same time, they're not at peace. But my focus today here will be just to share my thoughts on how we can strengthen peace building in Africa.
The next slide.
Next slide, thank you. So before I move on to that, I'll start by sharing the disaster profile of my country. According to the Disaster Risk Finance Diagnostic Study, the last one we had, Eswatini is recognized as a country that is highly vulnerable to catastrophic climate-induced disasters. We are vulnerable to several hazards, including droughts, floods, disease outbreaks, windstorm, forest fires, and drought remains one of the most recurrent and pervasive of the hazards impacting the country's environmental, socioeconomic stability. And it discourages household participation in agriculture. It increases the food insecurity, and it diminishes resilience. Can we move on to the next slide? I think we can all agree that climate change has increased the frequency and severity of hydrometeorological events, which in turn may increase conflicts. For example, when we have less water, we have people now diverting the water, stealing pipes from other people's fields to their own fields, and that leads to conflicts. And also when we come as humanitarian organizations or our partners who are working with us on the ground, bringing some interventions, you find that even that intervention will be a source of another conflict because people start fighting, there'll be disputes. on who are going to be the beneficiaries. Some people always feeling like they're not benefiting enough than the others. So just as climate change is upon us, we can see that also conflict is here. So with that, what I can say is that disaster risk reduction is an important element of climate change adaptation, as we can see the links there. So it is important that when we do our community disaster risk assessments, we factor in that conflict risk. I think it is an important thing that we should consider. Addressing environmental challenges can promote sustainable peace by fostering cooperation, addressing the root causes of the conflict, and promoting inclusive and equitable development. So I really think mainstreaming peace building into our development goals, governance arrangement, policies, and environmental humanitarian interventions would help us a lot. Now, just to share some of the common conflicts in Eswatini outside environmental conflicts, just to give you a picture of what I've personally experienced. We have a lot of this chieftaincy disputes where there's a lot of fights about who's supposed to be taking over as the chief. Every time we have election, there'll be election disputes. And just the example that I made before, when we bring some interventions and then there'll be fights over who's benefiting there. When there's income generating schemes, there'll be infighting. When we bring the water and electricity schemes, there's fighting again over prioritization and beneficiaries. And even fighting over the beneficiaries of humanitarian aid when we bring disaster relief and civil unrest. I'm not going to go into detail on that one, but just to share, like you've seen, we have one tribe, one language, a king, but still in Swaziland in 2022, we had one of our first very bad civil unrest on 2022, which was something we're all not used to. For the first time, it was so bad, people burning things down because of the call for democratic reforms. So that's just to add insight. Now, I was given 3 questions to answer. Oh, that's so small. I was given 3 questions. I was given 3 questions to answer just to guide me on what I think I can do. And as I do this, I would like all of us in here to do an introspection of what have you done as a person towards environmental peace building. Because at the end of the day, it's not about research and the beautiful conferences, it's about actually doing something. So I want all of us to be reflecting. So my first question was, what do you see as the greatest need for youth leaders in Africa on peace, conflict, and environmental peace building? So my answer to that is that I think youth leaders in Africa need to be empowered with the information on the historical context of the wars. We've seen there are a lot of wars that drag for so long, and sometimes you end up getting lost and you don't even know what really was the source. So I think having that historical context could help. Up there, I even put other examples like the wars in Sudan and DRC. We're seeing the wars in Israel, Palestine. But do we really have that historical context to know? I also think the youth needs to be empowered with skills on conflict resolution and mediation. So it's very important. And thirdly, we need to be capacity building on political leadership and good governance, so that when the youth like us, we finally maybe get those leadership positions in central government, we understand the values and the concepts of transparency and accountability, and we do not subscribe to those dictatorship tendencies. Now, however, I played my part. I did say not directly involved, but I've worked for the Ministry of Health before, and now I work for the National Disaster Management. Now, in my work, first of all, I've been talking about us bringing interventions. So what I do is that we have a fair criteria that we use, a disaster relief fair beneficiary criteria that we use, and we try to make people understand that this is the criteria that we follow, and everything is transparent. I've been working with communities for the better part of my life, supporting communities with economic opportunities through the projects and programs in the nexus of food, wash, and climate smart agriculture. And I've also been building health capacity, because we know that when communities are capacitated, then they're more resilient. Building capacity in the areas of WASH, in the areas of environmental health, helping people understand the impacts of deforestation, pollution, and all those problems. And also we value including the communities right from the start, right from the scoping meetings. We make sure that the communities are part of the project so that they can own them and the sustainability. Now, have I done enough? Certainly no, I haven't. And I think opportunities like this are good for us. I'm hoping more youth can get mentorship on issues of peace building, and then we can do more and share that back. Now, finally, how can we encourage and foster increased leadership in environmental peace building in Africa? From my experience, number one, I think it is very important to sensitize the leaders and decision makers up there. Peace building is the concept of peace building is very minimal to non-existent in my country. It's not a big subject. So I think we need to sensitize the people at the top so that they can be able to create an enabling environment for environmental peace building. I also think it is important that we mobilize funds towards the peace building initiatives. We establish peacekeeping missions to work with the civil society organization and NGOs. And also include peace building in the education curriculum. I think that would be very important. Like I said, it's not something that is big. So adding it in the curriculum would be very helpful, and also have the government prioritize peace building and train the youth to be advocates of peace building, starting at household level, at grassroots level, before we go to the policy levels. And basically educating the public on the connection between environmental well-being and sustainable peace. I think that's it. I'll stop here for now.
Excellent.
And as a takeaway, please let's all remember that the change we want to see always begins with us.
That's great.
Thank you.
Are we okay with the interpreter?
And we send the person a message, but there was a response.
Okay, all right, okay, no problem. Right. Can we just leave that up there? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, great, that was fantastic. Let's hold our questions. We'll have a little time for questions at the end, if that's okay. Doris, can I ask you to go next? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, all right, you're on.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you all for giving us audience. My name is Dorice Andetse, and I'm from Kenya. Before today, if you asked me the same questions that Lucia has just, Lucia is from Eswatini. All her two names are a bit difficult, not just for you, because we don't have the clicking sounds where I come from. Maybe we do, maybe we master them. You had a brief bio about me from Janet, and so many times I have been accused of being all over the place. So let me give you my journey so that we can discuss together to see whether I really am all over the place. I came from a community where girls were not really considered could be leaders. And being a curious mind, I always looked forward to asking questions. I was the one who was nosy. They can all attest to the fact that I'm one person who's very spontaneous and quote unquote all over the place again. So growing up, I was always wondering why many people are getting opportunities and we girls are asked to act nice, play nice, sit properly, be modest. I wanted to find out what modest was and what playing nice looked like. In the African setup, And all over the world, we get to have so many challenges, especially girls, in terms of their topics we can't speak about, the topics that cannot be spoken to us about. But then we always grow, everybody guiding us assumes that we know. But then how do we know of all this? Where do we get to hear of the things we're not supposed to talk about? I can give you an example. And I can see that I'm being recorded. Definitely it'll go back to my parents. I love my parents. They're amazing. And I love everybody who's taking time to show me the way. The topics that were very difficult to talk about, or I never heard about. Like, what do you need to do so you don't get pregnant? Everybody will assume that you know how not to get pregnant. Everybody will assume that you know how to use family planning. I got to know about family planning after I gave birth. Yes. So talk about being modest. Who's going to open the doors for us? Who's going to show us conferences like this? So with a curious mind, I was always very alert. I would always listen to conversations and my mind would pick and store. I'd go back home, make notes, do my research. I only got to have my first smartphone when I was around 22 years old. So what was I doing all through? How was I surviving? I managed to. So I finally got an opportunity to join university. I love mathematics. And along the way, you get to understand how I've put all my passions together to work with communities. I have a mathematics school, the only mathematics school that we have in my community. I put up the first library in my community. It didn't need funds. I would knock on doors. Do you have books you're not using? I put that up together. I'm in conservation. I've been into disability. Let's see how all this has come up to build me and build the communities that I work with. So when I joined university, most of us have the stories in Africa, oh, we did not come from well-off families, which is not true. It's not a pity story, but it's the facts that are happening back at home and like in many other places. So when I joined university, I was very curious and I really went to school to study, but at the same time, I needed money. So I came up with ideas, putting all my skills together. And one note I would like to bring up is that I've been in leadership my whole life. Again, I've been very curious, the one who put their hands up in class and ask the teacher questions, and the teachers will be like, to silence you, we'll make you the class monitor. But that never silenced me. So I managed to be in leadership ever since I started school to date. So when I joined college, I always loved sitting on the front row, and so that I pick anybody who's walking in, how's their style? I come from a family of designers. You'd find that I'm always in African attires and some fancy designs. I'm the only one from my family who doesn't know how to do design work, but I'm very good at putting on everything. So I'd sit at the front of my class and would start studying everything. Like I've told you, I'm very curious. Everyone, what's their style? What are they lacking? What's missing in this class? What can I bring it? Where can I get the business opportunities from my class? So as I was waiting to join you, I didn't join university until 3 years after I had finished high school because my parents had to put some money together. So when I went to school, by the time I went to school, I knew how to make soap. I knew how to do beadwork. I knew how to teach mathematics. So I told myself that I don't have money to start a business, but this is where I'm going to start. So I would go out during my lunch break, tea break to find clients. I got so many orders that I had to teach my class how to do the business. So I divided the class into 3 sections. See, it's like my former class. So this, I would put people together who are interested in soap making, teach them how to do soap, bring them orders. People who would teach mathematics would walk around school to see who needs help in mathematics. And I would negotiate the payment terms and I'll be the one collecting money to pay back. Doing business in school was illegal. I had to make sure that I never got caught. And the excuse that I kept on giving to the heads of the school was, to keep my class out of trouble, they needed to do something. We have so many ways of making income. We have that one way that is considered decent, and we have the other way that is considered indecent, quote unquote. So that grew. So one day in my class, so my mathematics and training and business classes started when I was in college. So the next stage of my life led me into the area of disability. I did not want to start business, but at the same time, I wanted to help communities. just like in many places, most African countries do not embrace persons with disabilities, or we still have the belief that they are a bad omen. So when I was in college, one of my lecturers called me outside and was like, this is it, I'm in trouble, I'm losing my opportunity to study. I was praying really hard. So my lecturer calls me out and she's like, I'd want you to meet my daughter. I didn't hear anything else. I was just glad that I'm not in trouble. So handing me some money. I don't know what that money was for, because again, I did not pay attention. I was so tense to even listen to what she was telling me. She had sent me to meet her daughter. Then I didn't know why, because I had not paid attention. I just went to where she sent me. So I waited for this daughter to come pick me up from the main gate for a very long time. She didn't show up. And I kept on calling and calling and calling. Finally, I saw somebody staggering, walking towards me, and fell almost at my feet. And I moved back. I'm like, you cannot be drinking at this time of day. I've been waiting for you for more than 30 minutes. And she's like, I've not been drinking. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You know, I'm looking at my business time, right? I have orders to go fetch. I have clients to go meet, and you've been keeping me here. That was my first incident on disability. The lady told me that, no, I have a disability. I'm like, then I was very insensitive, not like now. And the lady was like, I have a disability. And I'm like, what's this disability that looks like you're drunk? Yes. And I have cerebral palsy. I'm like, what's that? Again, it goes back to the fact that these are quote unquote almost taboo topics. So not many of us know, we only see the blind, the deaf, those who cannot walk, name it. But we never get to hear more on anything matters disability until you see them in the streets and it hits you, oh, you can't walk, why? So that was the beginning of my journey into disability. So again, move with me so that we see how all over the place I'm at.
2 minutes.
2 minutes,
Yeah,
I'll
2
shorten it.
minutes.
So to just give it all a nutshell, I run a mentorship program. I run several businesses, and at the same time, I'm again very controversial. I go where not many people will go. The hardest of it all. Right now, I'm doing breeding and rewilding of this rare breed of an antelope. You have brochures on your desk to show you what I'm doing. And yes, I would look forward to more and more of your questions, because I'm one person who can go on again. My level of experience revolves around resource mobilization and fundraising. That's what I've been doing for more than 12 years now and counting. And it's not been easy because many people do not want to venture into what will not automatically bring in the result that they're expecting. So not many people see that the programs you are running will give value for money. So that's where I'll leave it at. And I look forward to your questions and interaction. Thank you for your opportunity.
Mahawa is gonna bring it home. She's our last speaker. Nope, she doesn't have a PowerPoint, so over to you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I have cold. I'm so happy to be here and to share my experiences with you as head of environmental program for Everyday Gandhis Liberia. The Everyday Gandhis is a peace-building organization situated in the northern part of Liberia. So we were founded right after the Civil War in 2004. As you may be aware, my country has a history of civil crisis since the 1990s. So what we do at Everyday Gandhis is that we promote peace through traditional storytelling. We empower women through mentorship. And then we also provide trainings for farmers so that they can build resilience against global climate change. In Liberia, as a country, we have a lot of forest resources. But over the past 10 years, we have realized that we are gradually losing our forests due to deforestation, charcoal production, wildfire, and mining activities. The Everyday Gandhis is very concerned about these challenges the communities are having. So we work at the grassroots level to make sure that communities are self-sufficient, because they might not always have access to fundings. The resource might not always be available to them. So we want them to be able to live their life even without donor support. So we have projects in 5 communities in Vonjama. So what we do is that we identify natural areas that are under restriction by the local leadership. because of their traditional activities. In that way, we'll be able to reserve forest resources. So in some part of the community we work in, there are no-go bush for Sunday society and Poro society. So this area are kept so that there can be no farming activities there. There can be no cutting down of trees, so that the forest can be able to remain in its capacity, so that the next generation can have access to the benefits. So we also provide trainings to farmers to encourage lowland farming. So we have a lot of wetlands in that part of Liberia. But one of the challenges they have is that they don't have resources, they don't have tools to be able to regulate the water flow in the swamp and be able to produce varieties of crops so they can have access to food even during the dry seasons. So we provide trainings, we give out tools. We also ensure that we empower the leadership there so they cannot give into any concession companies to come and do mining in their community. So we also have talking about environmental peace building, we also have a mobile peace team that work in Sierra Leone, Guinea at the border line, because there's a history of conflicts due to land ownership and who have access to a particular land. Because back in the day, our forefathers used to just show demarcation as this family owns this land, this family owns it. But nowadays, we are trying to modernize it. We want to document every land so that people can be able to do business on it. But then we realize that this kind of transaction is causing a serious problem, and then it is leading to conflicts among communities, because land ownership is one of the major challenges. But back then, you could just farm on any land and just leave it. Over time, it will regenerate. But now, people feel like they own the land and they can do anything at any time. So we also encourage the implementation of local laws. The townships, the area, they have rules and regulations governing forests. So if you go against those rules, you will be punished. So we try to empower local communities so they can be able to enforce this law so we can have our forest cover. So one of the things we do is we purchase land from this community to be able to keep it for the next generation. So we also encourage the planting of trees to forests that have been degraded over the year. So we empower the women that live in this community to set up nurseries so they can be able to plant trees on their farm, so that even when they harvest, those trees will be growing. And in the next 5-10 years, they will still have access to trees and other forest resources. So through our cross-border meeting with communities in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea, we have dialogues so we can have a better understanding of issues that are causing conflicts in Guinea, issues that are causing conflicts in Sierra Leone and Liberia. So we have these dialogues and discussions to come up with ideas on how we can protect the community and at the same time manage the forest and make sure that the relationship between everyone is framed and so that it continues. So among the trees we plant are fruit trees and the yellow wood tree. In Liberia, we use the yellow wood to roof our houses. But now, if there's no yellow wood in the next 10 years, we might not be able to build houses. And people might experience a lot of issues that will be, which will lead to displacement and migration to other towns. And the people in Guinea, in the Nogowa region, there is an issue that the issue of land ownership is a problem there as well as the discussions we've had with them over the years. So what we encourage them to do is that to have meetings with those that are part of the discussion that led to the giving out of land to other people, so that there can be a better understanding as to how this land will be used so that we can avoid conflicts in the region. So everyday Gandhis work at the community level. We are grassroots, even though we have an office in California, but all of our work is locally sourced. We don't deal with government, we don't deal with concessions companies, we deal directly with the community. We want them to be empowered so that there can be no conflicts in the region. So we keep engaging them we respect their culture, we respect their views, we empower the women there, we make sure that they are self-sufficient, we make sure that they are included in discussions that govern their forests. So if you want to know more about Everyday Gandhis, I will share our website with you. We have a lot of information on there about peace building and conflict resolution.
Mahawa, can you say what got you into environmental peace building? Like what caused you to?
All right, so back then when I was out of high school, we live on a wetland. We used to experience flooding all of the time. Whenever it rains, there'll be water in our homes. We have to leave the house to go to other people's house to seek rescue. So I was so curious about that, and I tried to read about the cause of flooding. And I realized that when you build on the wetland, there'll be flooding over time because wetlands store water bodies that run whenever there is rain. So it was a serious concern. And then I tried reading more about flooding, environment, peace, and people. And then Everyday Gandhis, after the civil crisis, I lost someone during the war in 2003, and I got displaced, and I was not even in touch with my family. So Save the Children brought me back to my family. And then when I learned about Everyday Gandhis through a friend from the same high school, that was how I joined the group, and I realized that they had a lot of programs that governs peace building and environmental protection. So I joined Everyday Gandhis, and they sponsored me through college because I didn't have means of going to university. They sponsored me through university, and I studied environmental science so I have a better understanding of environment, people, and the climate. So that's how I joined the group. And since then, I've been very active in empowering young girls because I want them to be able to understand these basic things so they can be able to make a larger impact. So we don't deal with larger group, we deal with small people because we believe our smaller group can make a huge difference in a particular community.
Great, thank you for adding that. So we have these amazing stories with so many different themes running throughout them, right? Like I heard women and girls, I heard conflict in very different ways, social inclusion, right? The links to climate change, resilience. So we have about 5 minutes for questions. I bet we have a lot of questions. Does anyone want to start? 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation. My first question goes to yeah, you gave a list of common, but I did not see land out there. Why?
What you did not see?
Didn't see the land.
I did not see conflict around land.
Ah.
So the other, I can ask directly my question, right? I have another question for.
You were only allowed one.
Oh.
I think it's lunch and coffee. It was questions. Fair with everyone else.
Okay, thank you for that question. You are very right. I was just giving examples. We do have land disputes quite a lot. You see the chieftaincy disputes that I included. That's where land issues are included. The chiefs, the chiefs are the ones who are responsible for demarcating who stays who, how much land they get. So the fights are always mainly the fights are about land. So, yeah.
Anyone else with a question? Yes.
Mahawa.
Mahawa.
Thank you for that very insightful presentation. You mentioned mining. And we know in Africa, mining and post-mining activities is already recording a lot of influence soil and affecting farming as well as also pastoralism. Is this something that you have come across in Liberia, and what sort of interventions are you?
Yeah, like I actually worked with a mining company as part of my internship. But then I realized that they were polluting the St. John River. In Everyday Gandhis, we don't work in that area. That's what I said. We try to educate the community so that whatever concession agreement that come up, you should have a say in it, and then you should know the impact it will have on your land and your people. So I had to resign because I wasn't okay with that. So I left the institution, and I still continue with Everyday Gandhis because that was part of my coursework. You had to do internship with a environmental institution. So we do a lot of awareness education. So we cover different environmental topics. And then we have translators. Okay, where we work, we have different tribes there. So we have translator that when I speak English, you will translate to our local language so the people can understand what's going on and the impact it will have on them in the long term. So yes, that's what we do.
Okay, anyone else?
Sorry for coming late. Another question from Mahawa.
Okay.
You mentioned some of the trees that you provide, right, to farmers and things like that. Do men and women have, obviously there's lots of communities and that may be different, but do men and women tend to have different preferences for trees? And how do you navigate that? How do you kind of make sure that men and women are in agreement or? Please.
Yeah, so for our projects, we include everybody. So we ask them the trees that are local there that will be able to grow fast. So they decide on what kind of trees to plant. So the women there, they manage the nursery project. So we provide the bulletin bag and they provide the seedlings. Like I said, we wanted to be efficient. We can't keep providing you with things. We want to be screened so that even if we are not there, you can be able to do your work. So what we do, we pay for the land that is dedicated for the trees. Like we want to create a fruit forest. We say, okay, please give us this, they will be paying something for the land. So the town chiefs, they're the elders, they will agree on a particular spot and give to everyday Gandhis, and then they will decide the kind of trees to plant. But one of the trees they plant is a yellow wood tree. It's very economical. It has economical value in Liberia because we use it for roofing our houses. So they plant a lot of that. It will give them enough collecting beds to keep it going. So the watering and maintenance at the women. And sometimes when the trees are many, we buy from the women. Even though we give you the bulletin bag, we also buy the trees from you. For other communities that don't have nurseries.
Anyone else? Any questions? Go ahead.
You have another question for you.
Not me? Okay.
I maybe misunderstood what you were saying, but you mentioned the question around land, sort of demarcating the land and getting that right.
Mhm.
Is there a process in place there to have sort of official urban and recorded cadastral boundaries? Or have you found that hasn't worked? I'm interested in what has worked in creating peace regarding or removing disputes regarding the land issues.
Yeah, so in Liberia, the Land Rights Act will have categories of land, while the government land, the customary land, and the indigenous people land. So for the local people, the indigenous people, they have their own rules governing the land. Like I said, they have certain areas that you cannot touch, no matter how powerful you are. So we call it the no-go bush. That they use it for traditional activities. So also like sometimes they will just show demarcation without any documentation. Because they believe that too much of modernization might lead to conflicts. Right. So with better understanding among them, we can navigate through this land. So you can just work out, okay, I'm going to farm here, and then go to the township, okay, we'll give you this spot. But make sure you maintain it. So we tell them that there should be no shifting cultivation. If you give a particular spot to this family, it should be maintained over time. But this farm this year and farm next year, there will be a lot of problem with the land. So you maintain it. So try to tree in that area to do mixed cropping, what kind of crop to place so that you can reuse the spot over a long period. Then other areas can be protected.
You have questions?
Thank you for the presentation. My question is for Eswatini, the management. Yes, I want to know if the water management still traditional, even to the political regime. If so, is there any dispute between a community over this resource?
Can you repeat your question for me?
Is the water management still traditional?
Water management, okay.
Given to the political regime.
I don't know if I'm getting you well, but what I know is that for water management, we have the joint river water basins. So the institutions that are responsible for water management and the ones that give water rights. We also have the Water Services Corporation. So I think it's there are laws and institutions responsible. I don't know if what you meant
Yes,
about
yes.
being traditional.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The second question is, is there any dispute between community, these resources or?
Yes, at local level,
Yes.
there are disputes over the water. Like I said, drought is very recurrent in Eswatini. We've had El Nino. So when we have drought, there is scarcity of water. So sometimes there are those little things that happen. Like I said, there's a habit of people stealing, diverting the water, removing pipes from other people's fields. Yeah, at local level, we do have those kind of problems, but at a bigger scale, no, because we don't have any transboundary conflicts, for example. We share the waters with Mozambique and South Africa, but we don't have conflicts of that scale.
Okay, thank you.
I saw one more question, last question.
I have a question for all three.
Okay.
General question.
Great.
But are you environmental peace builders? Do you think of yourselves like that? Or are you environmentalists who build peace? Are you peacemakers who use the environment? How do you come into this space and think about what it is?
I think, okay. I could go. I don't know whether I am an environmental peace builder, but my area of interest is human wildlife conflicts. And simply because, again, I am working to preserve and take care of the population, repopulating the mountain bongo antelope. And the eastern mountain bongo antelope is critically endangered with less than 100 in the wild. And if you look at the reasons why the decline was so much, it's because majorly of human activities through poaching and habitat encroachment. So my work revolves majorly around creating awareness on the impact that humans have on the environment at large, giving examples majorly to the critically endangered mountain bongo antelope. So
do you think collaboration around that and build a wider peace among communities, or how do you think about it?
yes, because number one, when we are working to take away quote unquote their main maybe source of income in terms of poaching, we try to give them an alternative, probably give them an alternative source of income. So I believe that creates peace between humans and wildlife. Yes.